I sat in my HR manager's office, hands shaking, while she played the voicemail for the third time. A woman who sounded exactly like me was screaming obscenities, threatening customers, admitting to stealing from the company. But it wasn't me. My boss looked at me with disgust as security appeared at the door. Terminated immediately. Box for my belongings. 4 years at this marketing firm, gone. Then I heard it. A specific laugh in the recording, one I'd known my entire life. My sister, Amber. The walk to my desk felt like a death march. Every coworker stared as I packed my belongings into a cardboard box. 4 years of building relationships, networking, climbing the ladder at one of Denver's most respected marketing firms. All evaporating in front of me. My hands trembled as I grabbed the framed photo of my college graduation, the little succulent plant I'd kept alive for 2 years, my favorite coffee mug. The security guard stood 3 feet away, arms crossed, watching me like I was a criminal. Sarah from accounting wouldn't make eye contact. Brian from the design team actually turned his back when I looked his way. They all believed it. They all thought I'd really made that call, really said those horrible things, really stolen from the company. I wanted to scream that it wasn't me, that someone had set me up, but what was the point? The evidence was there, a recording of my voice. The October air hit me hard as I stepped outside, box in my arms. I'd moved to Denver 4 years ago, right after college, believing this job would launch my career. I lived in a tiny apartment in Capitol Hill, barely affordable even with my salary of $48,000 a year. My 12-year-old Honda Civic sat in the parking lot, the only thing I owned outright. I threw the box in the back seat and sat in the driver's seat, hands gripping the steering wheel. Then I pulled out my phone and called Amber. She answered on the second ring, her voice bright and cheerful. "What's up? What did you do?" My voice came out raw, barely controlled. "What are you talking about?" The voicemail. "Amber. I just got fired because someone called my company pretending to be me. It sounded exactly like my voice." "What did you do?" Silence. Then that laugh. That specific laugh I'd recognized in the recording. "Oh my God, you figured it out? I didn't think you would." She sounded delighted. "It was just a prank, Joe. Relax." "A prank? I just lost my job." "Seriously? They actually fired you over that?" "I thought they'd just give you a warning or something." "There's this app where you can record someone talking, and then it modulates your voice to sound like them. I recorded you last month when we had lunch, remember? You were telling me about that difficult client. I just used some of those recordings and made a funny phone call. It's not my fault your boss has no sense of humor." My entire body went cold. "Amber, this isn't funny. This is my career, my livelihood. How could you think this was okay? You're being so dramatic. Just get another job. You're always saying how great you are at marketing. Shouldn't be hard, right? You don't understand. I work in a specialized field in Denver. Everyone knows everyone. This kind of termination, it follows you. People talk. I need references. And now I have a file that says I was fired for threatening behavior and theft accusations. Well, maybe you should have been nicer to me growing up. Remember when you wouldn't let me borrow your car that one time? Karma's you know what?" She laughed again. "Look, I gotta go. I have plans tonight. Maybe just apologize to your boss and tell them it was a misunderstanding." She hung up. I sat in that parking lot for 20 minutes, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. Then I drove home, climbed the 3 flights of stairs to my apartment, and immediately opened my laptop. I had exactly $1,200 in my savings account. Rent was $950, due in 12 days. I spent the entire evening on job search websites. LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, every marketing forum I knew. I updated my resume, wrote cover letters, and started applying. By midnight, I'd submitted applications to 14 different positions. My phone buzzed constantly, text messages rolling in. I picked it up and saw the family group chat blowing up. 17 missed calls from my parents. 5 from my older brother, Tyler. 3 from my Aunt Linda. My stomach dropped. I called my mother back. "Josephine Marie, what have you done?" Her voice was shrill, accusing. "What are you talking about?" "Amber just called us in tears. She said you attacked her, threatened her. She said you got fired from your job for poor performance, and now you're blaming her to avoid taking responsibility. How could you treat your sister this way? The world tilted sideways. That's not what happened. Mom, Amber prank called my work pretending to be me. She used some voice app and got me fired. I called her to confront her about it. That's ridiculous. Amber would never do something like that. She said you've been jealous of her since she got accepted to graduate school. She said you've always resented her. Mom, I'm not lying. She admitted it to me on the phone. She laughed about it. Josephine, I know you've been struggling with jealousy issues since you were young. Amber is thriving, and I understand that's hard for you. But you can't make up stories to tear her down. I'm not making anything up. She cost me my job. My father's voice came on the line. He must have been listening on speaker. That's enough. If you want to be part of this family, you need to apologize to your sister. We raised you better than this. Apologize? For what? For being the victim of her prank? For attacking her and making false accusations? We're having a family dinner this Saturday. You need to come and make this right. I'm not apologizing for something I didn't do. Then you're not welcome at family gatherings until you do. Your sister is hurt, Josephine. She's the victim here. The line went dead. I stared at my phone in disbelief. My brother Tyler texted me privately. Just apologize. You know how they are with Amber. She's the baby. She can do no wrong. It's not worth the fight. Save yourself the drama. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The person who had destroyed my career was being protected, and I was being punished for being honest about it. That night, I didn't sleep. I just kept applying for jobs, one after another, watching the clock tick toward morning. The next 2 weeks became a blur of rejection and isolation. I submitted 43 job applications. 3 companies requested interviews. For the first time since getting fired, I felt a small spark of hope. The first interview was at a digital advertising agency in downtown Denver. I wore my best suit, prepared answers to every possible question, brought copies of my portfolio. The interview lasted an hour and 15 minutes. The hiring manager, a woman named Patricia, seemed genuinely impressed with my experience. She asked thoughtful questions about campaigns I'd managed, strategies I'd implemented, problems I'd solved. Your work speaks for itself, Patricia said as we wrapped up. I'll be honest, we have 2 more candidates to interview, but you're our top choice right now. We'll check your references and get back to you within 2 days. I thanked her and left feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Maybe this nightmare was finally ending. Meanwhile, the family group chat continued without me. I hadn't been removed, so I could still see everything. Photos from a family dinner I wasn't invited to. Amber's smiling face surrounded by our parents, Tyler and his wife Emma, Aunt Linda. The caption read, "Family is everything." Amber had posted on Facebook too. It's so hard when toxic siblings can't take responsibility for their own failures. Sometimes the healthiest thing is to set boundaries and focus on people who support your growth. Grateful for my amazing family who always has my back. The post had 63 likes and 27 supportive comments. My friends from work had stopped responding to my texts. I'd reached out to 3 people I'd considered close, asking if we could grab coffee and talk. All 3 had read my messages and never replied. In their minds, I was the person from that voicemail. The one who screamed at customers and stole from the company. Rent day came. I paid it, watching my savings account drop to $250. 2 days after the interview, my phone rang. Patricia from the advertising agency. "Thank you so much for your time the other day," she began, and I could already hear it in her voice. The rejection. "We've decided to go with another candidate." My heart sank. "Can I ask for feedback? What could I have done better?" Silence on the line. Then, "Off the record?" "Yes, please. Your previous employer gave you a terrible reference. They said you were terminated for threatening behavior and that there were theft accusations. We can't take that risk, especially with a small agency where trust is everything. I'm sorry. Your portfolio was excellent." After she hung up, I sat on my couch and stared at the wall. "I called my old boss, Daniel," his assistant answered. "I'm sorry, but Daniel has no comment," she said, her voice cold and professional. "Our company policy is to only confirm dates of employment when called for references. However, If specifically asked about the reason for termination, we're required to be truthful about misconduct reports on file. But there was no misconduct. That recording was fake. That's not what our records show. I'm going to have to ask you not to call again. She hung up. I checked my email. The other two companies that had requested interviews had both sent rejection emails. Generic messages about moving forward with other candidates. My career in marketing was over. That recording, that lie Amber had created, was now part of my permanent employment record. Every reference check would reveal the same information. No one would hire me. 3 weeks passed. I'd been rejected from 28 jobs. My savings account showed $67. Rent was due again in 8 days. And I didn't have it. I'd eaten nothing but ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches for 10 days. I swallowed every ounce of pride I had left and called my parents. My mother answered. What do you want, Josephine? I need help. I need to borrow $1,000. Just until I can get back on my feet. I'll pay you back with interest, I promise. Absolutely not. Mom, please. I'm about to be evicted. I can't find work because of what Amber did. I'm desperate. What Amber did? You're still telling that story? Josephine, when are you going to take responsibility for your own choices? You got fired because of your own behavior. Amber had nothing to do with it. That's not true, and you know it. She admitted it to me on the phone. My father picked up the extension. Amber warned us you'd try this. She said you'd make up lies to get money from us. We're not enabling your victim mentality. I'm not playing victim. I'm about to lose my apartment. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you got yourself fired. You need to face the consequences of your actions and learn responsibility. We're not giving you money. Dad, please. I'm begging you. The answer is no. Call us when you're ready to apologize to your sister. They hung up. I called Tyler next. He answered on the 4th ring. Joe, I can't help you, he said before I could even ask. Emma just lost her job. We're barely making our own bills right now. I'm sorry. Tyler, I just need a little help. A loan, anything. I really can't. I wish I could, but we're struggling too. Have you tried applying at restaurants or retail? Just something temporary? After we hung up, I did exactly that. I applied to every retail store, restaurant, and coffee shop within 10 miles. One place called back. A clothing store at the mall. $12 per hour. I'd need to work 33 hours a week just to cover my rent, not including food, utilities, gas, or anything else. I went to the interview the next day. The manager, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, hired me on the spot. I could start training in 3 days. That evening, my landlord taped a 3-day pay or quit notice to my door. I went through the first day of retail training in a fog, learning the register, the inventory system, how to fold shirts according to company standards. My feet ached from standing on concrete floors. The other employees were mostly college students working part-time. One of them asked me how old I was. 28, I told her. She looked at me with pity. I came home that night to find my apartment door slightly open. My stomach dropped. I pushed the door wider and stepped inside. Amber was there, standing in my living room, holding her phone up, taking photos. What are you doing here? My voice came out sharp, dangerous. Oh, hey! She smiled, completely unbothered. Mom and Dad asked me to check on you. They wanted to see if you were really broke or just lying to get money. She gestured around my sparse apartment. Looks like you weren't lying. This is pretty sad, actually. How did you get in? You gave me a spare key 2 years ago, remember? For emergencies? Get out. Right now. She ignored me, continuing to take photos. I'm posting these on Instagram. My followers will love this. When you don't take responsibility for your actions with a little shrugging emoji. Perfect. Stop taking pictures of my apartment. Why? You should have thought about your living situation before you tried to blame me for your failures. She turned to face me, her expression smug. Oh, by the way, I got accepted to graduate school. Did Mom tell you? Full-time MBA program. They're paying $15,000 per semester. Pretty amazing, right? I felt like I'd been punched. They're paying for your graduate school? Of course. That's what good parents do for their children who make good choices. Maybe if you hadn't screwed up your job, they'd help you too. You screwed up my job. You made that phone call. You really need to let that go. It's getting pathetic. She walked toward the door, then stopped. "Oh, you want your key back?" She pulled it from her pocket and threw it at me. It bounced off my chest and clattered to the floor. "See you never, loser." She left, her laughter echoing in the hallway. I locked the door behind her and slid down to the floor, my back against the wall. I couldn't stop crying. My sister had humiliated me, destroyed my career, and now she was being rewarded with $15,000 per semester while I couldn't even afford rent. My phone buzzed. A text from my landlord. "Eviction proceedings will begin tomorrow if rent isn't paid by 5 p.m. I had nowhere to go and no way to pay. I'd hit rock bottom, and the people who should have caught me had pushed me further down instead. I spent the next morning packing everything I owned into my car. Clothes, laptop, a few books, toiletries, the framed photo from my desk. Everything else would have to stay. I couldn't afford a storage unit, and I couldn't bear the shame of a formal eviction on my record. My college friend Diana lived in a suburb 20 minutes outside Denver. We'd been roommates freshman year and had stayed in touch, though we'd drifted apart over the years. I called her, my voice shaking as I explained the situation. Not the whole story, just the essential parts. Lost my job, can't pay rent, need a place to stay temporarily. "Of course," she said without hesitation. "I have a 1-bedroom, but the couch is comfortable. Stay as long as you need." I arrived at her apartment that afternoon with everything I owned packed into my Honda. Diana helped me carry my belongings up to her second-floor unit. She worked as a nurse at a nearby hospital, pulling 12-hour shifts 3 or 4 times a week. Her apartment was small but clean, decorated with plants and framed photographs of her travels. "I mean it," she said as we sat on her couch that first night. "Don't feel like you need to rush out of here. Take time to figure things out." I'd been working at the retail job for a week. My first paycheck would be about $370 after taxes. Not nearly enough to get my own place again, but enough to contribute to groceries and help Diana with utilities. I kept applying for jobs, every single day. Marketing positions, administrative roles, anything that paid more than $12 an hour. Most applications went into a void. No responses, no interviews. Then, 3 weeks after moving onto Diana's couch, my phone rang with a Colorado number I didn't recognize. "Is this Josephine?" A man's voice, professional and friendly. "Yes, this is she. My name is Marcus, and I'm the CEO of a tech startup called Innovate Solutions. I found your resume on LinkedIn, and I'm really impressed with your background. We're looking for a marketing coordinator, and I'd love to talk to you about the position. Do you have time for a brief phone interview right now?" My heart started racing. Yes, absolutely. The interview lasted 45 minutes. Marcus explained that Innovate Solutions was an 8-month-old company, developing project management software for small businesses. They had 6 employees and had just secured their first round of venture funding. He asked me about my experience with digital marketing campaigns, social media strategy, and content creation. I talked about the work I'd done at my previous job, careful to focus on results and strategies rather than why I'd left. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. Confident, capable, valuable. "I love everything I'm hearing," Marcus said. "We're a small company, and honestly, we don't do traditional reference checks. We care more about what you can do than where you've been. Would you be willing to complete a skills test for us? Create a mock marketing campaign for our software?" "Absolutely." He sent over the assignment that afternoon. I spent the next 3 days working on it every free moment I had. Before my retail shifts, during my lunch breaks, late into the night on Diana's couch, I created a comprehensive marketing strategy, sample social media posts, email campaign templates, and a content calendar. It was some of my best work. I submitted it on Friday morning. Marcus called me that afternoon. "This is exactly what we're looking for. Can you come in for an in-person interview Monday at 10 a.m.? The interview was at a co-working space in downtown Denver. Innovate Solutions rented 2 small offices in a building full of other startups. Marcus was younger than I expected, probably early 30s, with an easy smile and genuine enthusiasm. He introduced me to 3 other team members. Janet, the COO, Aaron, the lead developer, and Melissa, who handled customer success. We talked for 2 hours about the company's vision, their target market, how they saw marketing fitting into their growth strategy. They asked me questions, and I gave detailed answers. They laughed at my jokes. I could feel the chemistry, the fit. At the end, Marcus said, "I'd like to offer you the position. Marketing coordinator, $55,000 per year, plus equity options. We're a startup, so the equity might not mean much now, but if we succeed, it could be significant. Can you start in 2 weeks?" I accepted before he finished speaking. Walking out of that building, I felt like I could finally breathe again. $55,000. More than I'd been making before. A fresh start with people who believed in my abilities. I told Diana that evening, and she insisted we celebrate with takeout pizza and cheap wine. "I knew you'd bounce back," she said, raising her glass. "You're too talented not to." I posted a simple update on LinkedIn, excited to announce that I'm joining Innovate Solutions as their marketing coordinator. Looking forward to this new chapter. I was still in the family group chat. I'd never left it, couldn't bring myself to make that final cut. Within an hour of my LinkedIn post, the chat exploded. Amber had somehow seen my update, probably stalking my profile. The messages came rapid fire. "Mom, we heard about your new job. That's wonderful, honey. Dad, congratulations. We knew you'd figure it out eventually. Aunt Linda, so proud of you." My phone rang. My mother, "Josephine, it's so good to hear you're doing well. We've been thinking about you." I almost laughed at the absurdity. "Have you?" "Of course. We're your parents. We never stopped caring, even when you were going through your difficult phase." "My difficult phase?" "Well, you know. When you were unemployed and saying those things about Amber. But that's behind us now. We're so proud that you got back on your feet. We never doubted you." My father's voice joined. Speakerphone again. "Since you're doing well now, we wanted to talk to you about helping out with Amber's graduate school expenses. Your mother and I are stretched pretty thin covering it all." The words hit me like cold water. "What?" "Amber's tuition is $30,000 a year, and that doesn't include books, supplies, her apartment near campus. We're covering most of it, but it would really help if you could contribute. Family helps family, right? We're thinking $500 a month would be reasonable." I couldn't speak, couldn't process what I was hearing. My mother continued. "It's the least you can do, really. After all, Amber felt terrible about that silly prank. She's grown so much since then, and we've all supported you over the years. Time to give back." "I haven't even started the job yet," I managed to say. "I'm living on someone's couch. I'm still recovering from being homeless 3 weeks ago." "Homeless is a bit dramatic, Josephine. Diana had space for you, because I had nowhere else to go. You refused to help me when I was about to be evicted." My father's tone changed, became cold. "After everything we've done for you, raising you, paying for your education, this is how you repay us. Tyler is already contributing $300 per month to Amber's education. Are you really going to be the only one in this family who doesn't help?" "Tyler is contributing?" "Of course, because he understands family loyalty." They kept talking, layering guilt on top of guilt. How they'd sacrificed for me growing up. How Amber needed support. How I was being selfish. 20 minutes of psychological manipulation. Finally, I hung up without agreeing to anything. A text from Tyler came through immediately. "Just give them something small. Even if it's just $50 or $100 a month. It's easier than fighting them. Trust me." I stared at my phone, at the message, at the fundamental injustice of everything. The person who destroyed my life was being funded by my family, and now they wanted me to participate in that funding. I didn't respond. I turned off my phone and tried to sleep on Diana's couch, but all I could think about was how deeply broken my family really was. Starting at Innovate Solutions felt like stepping into a different universe. The office space was small but energetic. Marcus and Janet were passionate about the company's mission. Aaron, the lead developer, was brilliant and funny. Melissa had a warmth that made me feel immediately welcome. For the first time in months, I felt like I belonged somewhere. The work was intense. We were building everything from scratch. I developed the company's social media presence, created content for the website, designed email campaigns, researched target markets. Marcus gave me autonomy and trusted my expertise. The 12-hour days didn't feel like work. They felt like purpose. I was still living on Diana's couch, still saving every penny I could. My goal was to save enough for a security deposit and first month's rent on my own place. With my new salary, it would take about 2 months if I was careful. But the family pressure didn't stop. Phone calls came daily. My mother, my father, Aunt Linda, even my father's sister, whom I barely knew, all asking about helping Amber. All framing it as a family obligation. I kept saying no. Kept explaining that I was still recovering financially. It didn't matter. They persisted. Amber started texting me directly. I'd blocked her number after the apartment incident, but she'd gotten a new one. You're so selfish. I can't believe you won't help me when you're making good money now. I'm your sister. I blocked that number too. She texted from another number. Mom and Dad are disappointed in you. You're tearing this family apart. Block. Another number. After what you said about me, the least you could do is make it right by helping with my education. Block. Then she started posting about me on social media. Not using my name, but making it obvious. When your sibling gets a good job and refuses to help you pay for school even though you're family, some people are just selfish to their core. 3 weeks into my new job, Marcus called me into his office. Janet was there too. They both looked pleased. Sit down, Marcus said, smiling. We have some news. My first thought was panic. Had something gone wrong? But they were smiling. The company just closed our second round of funding. $3 million. I blinked. That's incredible. It is. And it means we can grow. We're going to hire more people, expand our marketing efforts, really scale up. He paused. Josephine, we're promoting you to marketing director. Salary increase to $78,000, larger equity stake. You've done amazing work these past few weeks, and we want to invest in you. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. $78,000. Less than 2 months ago, I'd been sleeping in my car and working retail for $12 an hour. Thank you, I said, my voice thick with emotion. Thank you so much. That evening, I celebrated with Diana again. She opened a nice bottle of wine she'd been saving, and we toasted to new beginnings. I made a mistake. I posted about the promotion on LinkedIn, excited to announce my promotion to marketing director at Innovate Solutions, grateful for this opportunity and ready for the next challenge. The family group chat lit up within minutes. Congratulations from everyone. Emojis and excited messages. My mother called immediately. Marketing director, that's wonderful. See, we always knew you'd do well. You just needed to get your head straight. The next morning, I arrived at work at 8:30. Marcus's assistant, a college intern named Sophie, told me that Marcus and Janet wanted to see me. Unusual for this early in the day, but I headed to Marcus's office. They both looked uncomfortable. Sit down, Marcus said, and his tone was different from yesterday. Serious, concerned. My stomach tightened. We need to ask you something, Janet said. We got a strange call this morning. Someone claiming to be your sister. The room went cold. Marcus continued. She called our main office line and left a voicemail. She said you've been lying about your qualifications. She said you were fired from your last job for stealing. She said she was calling as a concerned family member to warn us before we get in trouble for hiring you. I felt like I was going to be sick. It's not true, I said immediately. None of it. My sister. She's the one who got me fired from my last job. She made a prank call pretending to be me. She used a voice modulation app. I can show you text messages, evidence, everything. She's been harassing me because I won't give my family money. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and showed them the texts from Amber's various numbers, the demands for money, the threats, the blocked numbers. Marcus and Janet exchanged glances. We believe you, Marcus said finally. Your work here speaks for itself. You've been nothing but professional and talented. But this is concerning. Is she going to be a problem? Will she keep calling? I'll handle it, I promised. I'll make sure this doesn't happen again. I'm so sorry. Your job is safe, Janet assured me. We just need you to make sure this doesn't continue. We're a small company. We can't have this kind of drama affecting our business. I left that meeting shaking, immediately went to the bathroom and called Amber from my work phone since she wouldn't recognize the number. She answered cheerfully. Hello? Did you call my workplace? Oh, hey, Joe. Yeah, I did. I just thought your bosses should know the truth about who they hired. You know, the whole theft and threatening behavior thing from your last job. They have a right to know. You could have cost me my job. Again, what is wrong with you? Maybe if you helped pay for my school like a good sister, I wouldn't have to make sure people know what kind of person you really are. Her voice was sickly sweet. Mom and Dad are really disappointed in you, by the way. Everyone is contributing to my education except you. It makes you look bad. This is extortion. It's family responsibility. $500 a month. That's all. Help me out, and I'll leave you alone. I'll even tell your bosses I was mistaken about the theft thing. Easy solution. I'm not giving you money. Then I guess I'll keep making sure people know the truth about you. Your choice. She hung up. I stood in the bathroom, staring at my reflection in the mirror. This wasn't going to stop. Amber would keep sabotaging me until she got what she wanted. And my parents were encouraging it, enabling it, maybe even orchestrating it. I had to do something. But what? Fighting back against family felt impossible, but letting them destroy me felt even worse. That night, lying on Diana's couch, I researched restraining orders, harassment laws, anything that might help. But it all felt overwhelming. How do you legally fight your own family? I didn't have answers yet, but I knew I couldn't keep living like this. The harassment escalated over the next 3 weeks. Amber called Innovate Solutions 4 more times, each time with a different story. Once claiming I'd used drugs at my previous job, once saying I'd been involved in a lawsuit, once warning them that I was unstable and dangerous. Marcus's assistant started recognizing her voice and stopped putting the calls through, but the voicemails kept coming. Then Amber created fake social media accounts. She left 1-star reviews for Innovate Solutions on Google, Facebook, and Yelp. Each review mentioned me by name. This company hired Josephine Hart despite her history of theft and threatening behavior at her previous employer. Can't trust a business that doesn't do proper background checks. Beware. Marketing director Josephine Hart was fired from her last job for misconduct. Why would they hire someone like that? The reviews were devastating. We were a young startup trying to build credibility. These reviews showed up when potential clients researched us. Marcus called me into his office again. This time he looked exhausted. Josephine, I believe you about your family situation. I really do. But this is affecting the company. We've had 2 potential clients mention these reviews. Our reputation is taking a hit. I know. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to make her stop. Janet spoke up. Have you considered a restraining order? This is harassment. It's affecting your employment and our business. I've been researching it. It's hard to legally go after family. I understand it's difficult, Marcus said gently. But you might not have a choice. We need this to stop. That same evening, my phone rang constantly. My mother, my father, Aunt Linda. I stopped answering. They left voicemails. Josephine, this is getting ridiculous. Amber just wants a little help with school. Why are you being so stubborn? Call us back. We need to discuss your attitude toward family obligations. Your father and I didn't raise you to be selfish. Then my father showed up at Diana's apartment. I don't know how he got the address. Amber must have followed me, or somehow tracked me down. It was 7:30 on a Wednesday evening. Diana was working a night shift at the hospital. I heard pounding on the door. Josephine, I know you're in there. Open this door. I looked through the peephole. My father stood there, face red, angry. Josephine, we need to talk. You can't ignore your family forever. Go away, Dad. Open the door or I'll keep knocking. I'll stand here all night if I have to. Other apartment doors opened. Neighbors peered out. Someone at the end of the hall looked annoyed. I opened the door a crack, keeping the chain lock engaged. What do you want? Let me in. We need to talk about your behavior. No. You need to leave. Not until you agree to help your sister. $500 a month. That's all we're asking. Stop being difficult. The answer is no. Do you know how embarrassed your mother and I are? Having to tell everyone that our daughter won't help family? Tyler contributes. Aunt Linda contributes. Even your mother's cousin sends $50 a month. But you, making $78,000 a year, won't help at all? How do you know my salary? Amber saw it on LinkedIn. You made it public. I hadn't made my salary public. Amber must have guessed or found out somehow. I'm not discussing this. Please leave. You're going to regret this, Josephine. Family is all you have in this world. When you cut us off, you'll have nobody. I think I'll take that risk. I closed the door. He pounded on it for another 5 minutes before finally leaving. A neighbor, an older man from across the hall, knocked on my door after my father left. Is everything okay? Should I call the police? No, I'm fine. Thank you. I'm sorry about the noise. If he comes back, I will call them. That wasn't acceptable. The next morning, Diana got a notice from her landlord. There had been a noise complaint about disturbances in her unit. One more incident and her lease could be in violation. I'm so sorry, I told Diana, feeling sick. This is my fault. It's not your fault your family is acting crazy, she said. But maybe you need to figure out a more permanent solution. I don't mind you being here, but I can't risk my apartment. She was right. I was endangering her housing now, the same way my sister had endangered mine months ago. I called Tyler that afternoon. You need to talk to Mom and Dad, I said. Tell them to back off. Dad showed up at where I'm staying and made a scene. The landlord issued a warning. Joe, just give them something. Even if it's just $100 a month. Make them happy and they'll leave you alone. Why should I fund Amber's education when she destroyed my career? Because that's what family does. We make sacrifices. She made a prank call that got me fired, Tyler. I was living in my car. I almost became homeless. Why doesn't anyone care about that? Mom and Dad say that's not what happened. It is what happened, Amber admitted it to me. Look, I don't know what the truth is, and honestly, I don't want to get in the middle of it. Just do what's easiest. Pay them off, and move on with your life. That's your advice? Pay off my extortionist sister? I'm trying to help you. No, you're trying to keep the peace so you don't have to deal with any conflict. There's a difference. I hung up. That week got worse. My mother called my workplace and asked to speak to the CEO. She got Marcus. This is Linda Hart, Josephine's mother, she told him. I wanted to reach out about some concerns regarding family obligations and my daughter's character. Marcus, to his credit, shut it down immediately. Ma'am, I'm not discussing an employee's personal life with anyone. Please don't call this number again. But the call rattled him. He told me about it the next day. Your family is relentless, he said. I know. I'm going to fix this. I promise. That evening, I got a certified letter delivered to Diana's apartment. My hands shook as I opened it. It was a lawsuit. Small claims court. My parents were suing me for $10,000 in damages for emotional distress and defamation of character against Amber. The complaint was typed, official-looking, and detailed. The defendant, Josephine Marie Hart, has engaged in a campaign of defamation against her sister, Amber Nicole Hart, by spreading false accusations that Amber engaged in workplace misconduct. These false statements have caused severe emotional distress to the entire family. The defendant has refused to retract these statements despite multiple requests from family members. The plaintiffs seek damages in the amount of $10,000 for emotional suffering, family counseling costs, and reputational harm. Attached were screenshots. Text messages where I'd told Tyler that Amber's prank call got me fired. Messages to Diana where I'd called the situation unjust. Even a screenshot of a private Facebook message to an old college friend where I'd explained what happened. They'd been collecting evidence. Building a case. Using my own words against me. I sat on Diana's couch, the lawsuit papers in my hands, and felt the walls closing in completely. My job was at risk. My living situation was unstable. And now I was being sued by my own parents. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. The lawsuit will go away if you just apologize to Amber and agree to help with her tuition. This is your choice. Followed immediately by a text from Amber, from yet another new number. See you in court, loser. Unless you want to transfer $5,000 to my account by Friday. Your call. I stared at those texts for a long time. This wasn't a family. This was a criminal enterprise. Extortion, harassment, coordinated attacks, and suddenly, something shifted in my mind. I'd been playing defense this entire time. Trying to explain, justify, defend myself. But defense wasn't going to work with people like this. It was time to go on offense. I spent that entire weekend researching. Not just restraining orders and harassment laws, but building a case. I'd kept every text message, every voicemail, every email. I had records of Amber's calls to my workplace. I had the threatening texts demanding money. I had evidence of my father's disturbance at Diana's apartment. Monday morning, I arrived at work early and requested a meeting with Marcus and Janet. I laid everything out for them, every detail, from the beginning. The original prank call that got me fired, how Amber admitted it, how my family turned against me, the escalating harassment, the fake reviews, the calls to the company, the lawsuit, and finally, the extortion texts. I showed them the text from Amber. Transfer $5,000 to my account by Friday, or see you in court. Marcus's eyes widened. This is extortion. That's what I think too. But I wanted to be completely transparent with you both. This is affecting the company. And you deserve to know everything. Janet pulled out her phone. Our company has a lawyer on retainer. I'm calling him right now. The lawyer, a man named Gregory, came to the office that afternoon. I showed him everything. He spent 2 hours reviewing documents, taking notes, asking questions. Finally, he looked up at me. This is one of the clearest cases of harassment and attempted extortion I've seen. Your family is essentially blackmailing you. The fake reviews alone could be grounds for a defamation suit against your sister. The demands for money in exchange for stopping the harassment? That's textbook extortion. What can I do? Several things. First, we file a police report about the extortion texts. That's a crime. Second, we file for a restraining order against your sister. Third, we respond to their small claims lawsuit with counterclaims for defamation and harassment. And fourth, I write a very strong cease and desist letter to your entire family. Marcus spoke up. Gregory, can the company help? These fake reviews are affecting our business. Can we take action? Absolutely. The company can send its own cease and desist regarding the false reviews and the calls to the business. If she continues, you can sue for business defamation. I felt hope for the first time in months. How much is this going to cost me? I don't have money for a lawyer. Gregory looked at Marcus and Janet, then back at me. After hearing your story, I'll do this pro bono. What your family is doing is wrong, and frankly, it pisses me off. You shouldn't have to pay to protect yourself from criminals, even if they're related to you. I started crying. Thank you so much. That week moved quickly. Gregory filed a police report on my behalf. 2 officers came to interview me, took my statement, reviewed the text messages. They opened an investigation into the extortion attempt. Gregory filed for an emergency restraining order against Amber. The hearing was scheduled for 10 days out. He drafted responses to the small claims lawsuit that didn't just deny the allegations but countersued. For defamation based on the fake workplace calls. For harassment based on the fake reviews. For intentional infliction of emotional distress. And he drafted a cease and desist letter. Not just to Amber, but to my parents, Aunt Linda and Tyler. The letter detailed every incident of harassment, included evidence, cited relevant laws, and made crystal clear that any further contact would result in criminal charges and civil litigation. The letter included evidence I'd compiled, the voice modulation app admission from Amber, records of 4 separate phone calls to Innovate Solutions with false information, screenshots of the fake Google, Facebook, and Yelp reviews, text messages demanding $5,000, records of my father's disturbance at Diana's apartment, proof that my parents had been collecting my private messages to use against me. The letter ended with an offer. Cease all contact immediately, withdraw the small claims lawsuit, and issue written apologies. And I wouldn't pursue criminal charges for extortion or civil suits for defamation. Gregory sent the letters via certified mail and email to ensure receipt. For 3 days, silence. Then my mother called me. I answered. Speakerphone on. Gregory on the line to witness. How dare you? She screamed. How dare you involve lawyers and police? We're your family. You're suing me for $10,000, and your daughter is extorting me. That stopped being about family a long time ago. Amber just wanted help with school. Amber threatened to destroy my career if I didn't pay her. That's a crime, Mom. You're going to regret this. When you have nobody left because you cut off your entire family, don't come crying to us. Are you withdrawing the lawsuit? She hung up. The next afternoon, my father showed up at Innovate Solutions. He walked right into the office space and demanded to speak to me. Sophie, Marcus's assistant, immediately called security. The co-working space had security guards in the building. I watched from Marcus's office as 2 security guards escorted my father out. He was shouting the entire time. She's my daughter. I have a right to talk to her. She's destroying our family. The security team banned him from the building. Gregory added the incident to our documentation. 2 days later, Amber violated the temporary restraining order. She created another fake social media account and tagged Innovate Solutions in a post, still employing a thief and a liar. Shame on this company. Gregory immediately filed a motion to hold her in contempt. The police were notified. Amber was arrested at her apartment near the university campus. She spent 8 hours in jail before posting bail. She was charged with violating a protective order and fined $500. That arrest changed everything. Suddenly, it was real. Public record. Amber had a criminal charge. My mother called, crying this time. You had your sister arrested. How could you? She violated a court order. That was her choice. She's going to have a record now. This could affect her future. She should have thought about that before she spent months harassing me and trying to extort money. We're withdrawing the lawsuit, she said quietly. Just leave us alone. I will. As long as you leave me alone. She hung up. 3 days later, I received an official notice. The small claims lawsuit had been dismissed with prejudice. My parents had withdrawn it. The restraining order against Amber was made permanent. She was prohibited from contacting me, contacting my employer, or posting about me on social media for 3 years. Violation would result in immediate arrest. Gregory sent a final letter to my parents and Tyler. It documented every harassment incident and included the police report numbers and court case numbers. It stated clearly that any further contact would be considered criminal harassment and would be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Tyler called me one time after receiving the letter. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't realize how bad it had gotten. I was trying to stay neutral, but there was no neutral here. I should have stood up for you. Yeah, you should have. Can we talk sometime? I want to make things right. Maybe. But not now. I need space from all of this. I understand. After that call, my family went completely silent. No more calls, no texts, no showing up at work or at Diana's apartment. Just silence. It felt strange at first. Then it felt peaceful. The next 6 months transformed my life in ways I couldn't have imagined. With the family harassment finally stopped, I could focus entirely on my work and rebuilding my life. I moved into my own studio apartment in a quiet neighborhood. Small, but mine. I furnished it slowly, piece by piece. Every time I bought something new, a lamp, a bookshelf, a comfortable chair, it felt like reclaiming a part of myself. Work at Innovate Solutions flourished. Marcus and Janet continued to trust me with more responsibility. I hired a small marketing team, 2 coordinators and a graphic designer. We launched campaigns that brought in dozens of new clients. The company grew from 6 employees to 23 in those 6 months. Then came the news that changed everything. Marcus called an all-hands meeting on a Tuesday morning in April. I have an announcement, he said, barely containing his excitement. We've received an acquisition offer from a major tech company. They want to buy Innovate Solutions. The room erupted in cheers and questions. Over the next 3 weeks, the details emerged. The acquisition was worth $42 million. All employees with equity would see significant payouts. My equity stake, as marketing director and early employee, was worth $85,000 after taxes. When the money hit my bank account, I sat in my apartment and cried. Less than a year ago, I'd been living in my car. Now I had more money in savings than I'd ever imagined. I used part of it to hire a therapist, a woman named Dr. Sarah Chen, who specialized in family trauma and complex relationships. Every Thursday at 4, I sat in her office and worked through everything that had happened. The betrayal, the gaslighting, the realization that my family had been fundamentally toxic my entire life, not just during this crisis. You did something remarkable, Dr. Chen told me during one session. You set boundaries with people who never respected boundaries. You protected yourself when the people who should have protected you chose to harm you instead. That takes tremendous courage. It doesn't feel courageous. It feels lonely sometimes. Loneliness and peace can coexist for a while. Eventually, you'll build new connections with people who actually deserve your trust. She was right. Diana became more than just a friend who let me crash on her couch. She became family in the truest sense. The person who showed up. The person who believed me. The person who helped without conditions. I met others too. People at work who became genuine friends. A neighbor in my apartment building. A retired teacher named Margaret who invited me over for tea and actually listened to my story without judgment. A book club I joined where I met 3 women around my age who made me laugh until I cried. One afternoon in late spring, almost a year after everything began, Tyler called me. We'd been exchanging occasional texts, nothing deep, just checking in. He asked if we could meet for coffee. I agreed, cautiously. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our places. He looked tired, older somehow. I left, he said after we sat down. Left what? The family dynamic. Emma and I have been going to therapy. She helped me see how messed up everything was. How I enabled Mom and Dad's behavior. How I threw you under the bus to keep my own life easy. He paused. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. What they did to you. What Amber did. How wrong all of it was. What made you realize? Mom and Dad asked us to start contributing more to Amber's tuition after you cut them off. They wanted $800 a month from us. When I said we couldn't afford it, Dad said the same things to me that he said to you. Called me selfish. Said I wasn't a real family member. Threatened to cut us off. He shook his head. Emma told me we needed to stop. That this wasn't normal. That healthy families don't operate like a protection racket. And you listened to her. Yeah, I did. And I'm sorry I didn't listen to you first. We talked for 2 hours. It didn't fix everything. Trust doesn't rebuild that quickly. But it was a start. A possibility of something real. I never spoke to my parents or Amber again. Not at holidays. Not at family events. Not when I heard through Tyler that Amber had dropped out of graduate school after 1 semester because she couldn't handle the workload. Not when my mother sent a card to my apartment asking me to let bygones be bygones, but never once acknowledging what they'd done or apologizing. I kept the restraining order in place. I kept the documentation. I kept the boundaries. The acquisition of Innovate Solutions led to something better. Marcus and Janet started a new venture 6 months later, a different tech startup, and asked me to join as vice president of marketing. The salary was $125,000, plus significant equity. I accepted. On the anniversary of the day I was fired from my original job, I sat in my apartment and thought about everything that had happened. The absolute lowest point of my life had led to the highest point, not because of some cosmic justice or karma, but because I'd made choices. Hard choices. Choices that cost me my family of origin, but gave me something more valuable. My self-respect and my peace. I thought about the moment when everything shifted, when I stopped defending myself and started documenting, when I stopped explaining and started taking legal action, when I stopped hoping my family would change and started accepting that they wouldn't. Family, I realized, isn't about blood. It's about who shows up when you're at your worst. It's about who protects you instead of exploiting you. It's about who celebrates your success instead of demanding you fund theirs. Diana showed up. Dr. Chen showed up. Margaret, my neighbor, showed up. My coworkers showed up. Tyler eventually showed up. My parents and Amber never did. And that taught me the most important lesson of all. You don't owe loyalty to people who weaponize your love against you. Setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's survival. It's self-respect. It's the only way to build a life that's actually yours. Some people call it cutting off family. I call it choosing myself. And choosing myself was the best decision I ever made. The woman who sat in that HR office a year ago, getting fired because of a cruel prank, thought her life was over. But really, it was just beginning. Sometimes you have to lose everything to realize what actually matters. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most teach you the most valuable lessons. I learned that documentation matters more than emotional appeals. I learned that the legal system, while imperfect, can protect you from abusers, even when they share your DNA. I learned that therapy isn't a luxury. It's necessary maintenance for anyone who's survived psychological warfare. I learned that real success isn't measured in salary or job titles, but in how peacefully you can sleep at night. Most importantly, I learned that sometimes the greatest act of love is walking away. Walking away from toxicity. Walking away from manipulation. Walking away from people who will never see you as anything more than a source of money or a scapegoat for their own failures. My life now is quiet, peaceful, full of people who actually care about me, full of work that challenges and fulfills me, full of possibilities that don't require me to sacrifice my dignity or my sanity. When I smiled and told my family to check their mailboxes that day at the coffee shop, I wasn't being vindictive. I was being strategic. I was using the tools available to me, the law and documentation, to protect myself from people who had proven they would never stop attacking me. Their faces did turn pale when they opened those envelopes. Not because I was cruel, but because for the first time, there were consequences for their actions. Real consequences. Legal consequences. And those consequences, those boundaries, gave me my life back. If you're in a situation like I was, where family is exploiting you, manipulating you, or demanding you set yourself on fire to keep them warm, please know this. You deserve better. You deserve peace. You deserve relationships built on genuine love, not obligation and guilt. Document everything. Seek legal help if you need it. Find a good therapist. Build your chosen family. And most importantly, choose yourself. Always choose yourself, because the people who truly love you will never ask you to destroy yourself for their benefit. Have you ever had to set boundaries with toxic family members? How did you find the strength to protect yourself when the people who should have supported you didn't? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming hardship and finding strength. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, please share this video with them. Sometimes we need to know we're not alone in these struggles. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there realize that choosing peace over toxic family isn't selfish. It's survival. Take care of yourselves, and remember, you deserve relationships that build you up, not tear you down.